today Dr. Pragya Agarwal. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll soon be joined by Chhaya Momaya from Mumbai. Pragya, I'm not going to call you Dr. Agarwal, that's quite a mouthful. It's been quite a sad day today. I think you must have heard that Irfan, one of our
Yes.
finest actors, passed away today. So I think everyone is feeling a sense of loss, which is actually something I wanted to start off on, although I know it's not the subject of your new book, which is called Sway Unraveling on Unconscious Bias. But I wanted to understand as a behavioral scientist. Oh, Chaya, are you back with us?
Yes. Yes,
Okay, and you can hear us now.
I can.
Okay, so I was just introducing Dr. Agarwal and introducing you as well, Chaya, as one of the premier social influencers in Mumbai and in India. And I was
Thank
telling you
you.
it's been such a sad day today because, we've lost one of our finest actors. And I think everyone is feeling a tremendous sense of loss, whether they knew him or not. And I wanted her to begin because she's a behavioral scientist. I wanted Pragya to begin with what explains this kind of sort of collective, sense of loss that one feels at a moment like this. Pragya?
Yeah, yeah, I think huge loss. And I was always such a huge fan of him. He brought so much authenticity to screen. And yeah, I was really shocked when I heard it this morning here in the UK. And I think people here who are huge fans because he's he's crossed boundaries, global
Yes.
boundaries in
Yeah.
cinema. I think grief is a really strange thing. And I think people connect in times of grief and connect in times of joy.
Yeah.
And it's like a sense of belonging with each other. And we are always looking for our tribes, for our communities, for these shared experiences. And I think when we don't know each other, but when we relate to the same thing and we feel the same thing, we cross these, as I say, national boundaries, global boundaries, the divides, the partisan politics, everything that's dividing us, and something that brings us all together. So there are moments of joy that bring us together, and there are moments of grief. And grief is a really strange thing. We all experience it in different ways. We will all experience it in different like circumstances, and we would express it in different ways as well. And even when we don't know a person, we often share this kind of moment with each other. And I think as a sense of community, it's quite a poignant thing that is happening.
Yeah. Chaya, do you want to say a few words on Irfan? I'm sure your paths must have crossed in Mumbai. And it will be a loss that Mumbai especially will feel quite acutely.
I think why Mumbai is global. He was an
Yeah.
international star, according to, I think, all of us.
Yeah.
And he has a huge fan following. I mean, everyone you speak to is a big fan of his.
Yeah.
So, and of course, loss is there. And what we are really going to miss out is his skill,
Yeah.
which the younger generation would have picked up and learned from him how to be natural and not to be just an actor. And I think, even I still recall about a few days ago, I saw a clip from some award night. And the way he got up from the audience and he created a whole drama, and everyone thought it was real. Normally, it looks very enacted. But
Hmm.
he just took it off, and I was shocked that how could he get up in the middle of the award and say something like that. But it turned out to be, like a skit.
Yeah.
So he's that kind of an actor, which leaves a lot of memories in your mind. And I only wish somebody who's gone has left a legacy behind with all the upcoming Bollywood, Hollywood actors, because he was truly international. A film like Tiffin, Lunchbox, sorry, he, I mean, look at the firebomb he created out of that. So he has left memories, he's left his skills, and I really hope that the next generation takes it on and actually picks up his skills.
Right.
And I really pray for his soul, and it is really a big loss for the film industry.
Chaya, I just want to continue with you on this point. You talked about his aura and the personality that he had built. You really are in the business of telling us how to mold ourselves, how to groom ourselves. What are the basic elements that we need to become, that's a question I'm sure you get all the time, to create that sense of personality, what is it, that one thing that is absolutely essential?
I believe when you enter a
Yeah,
room, it has
yeah,
to be an entry. Now,
right,
entry just doesn't stop at the kind of clothes, shoes, brands that you're wearing.
right,
It's a whole formation. So collectively, first would be knowledge, which
right.
automatically shows in your eyes, on your expression, on your face, which you've collected over the years. It's like a book, a vintage book.
Hmm,
And your language are two things which make or break a person.
hmm,
And of course, I always feel each one of us have it to make every head turn and to ask who is this person who's walked into the room,
hmm,
and everything else is noticed secondary. So
right,
I think first one should collect a lot of knowledge,
hmm.
impart information automatically. When you are knowledgeable, you impart information, you impart your knowledge, and people gather around you, and you have a big fan following after you. And your language, the way you address people, the way you speak to them.
Right,
एक अदब होती है. Our heritage, our Indian heritage is so rich. Look at the kind of cultures that you're involved with. And
right.
every culture in a country, whether it's Muslim, Christianity, in Hindu, Jain, we all have a culture, and we can always imbibe that and use it to our best. So
What about,
culture and
yeah,
language, yeah,
what about authenticity, Chaya? Is that not important? Because I think,
very important. I say the things the way they are.
yeah,
And it's very important because see, the time you hide something, that
yes,
means there's something happening behind in your mind. And why should you be scared of anybody if you've done nothing wrong?
right.
And nobody should be able to point a finger back at you. Like, but I always give this example. When people drink, they have to hide and drink in a dark pub or something because they feel they're doing something wrong. But the
Or in
same
Delhi,
person,
if you're in Delhi, it's covered with a white napkin. The glass is
correct.
covered.
Anywhere in the world. Like nobody can pick up, even if you're having gin, which is like a clear water. If you stand on a bus stop or in a public place, you'll not be able to have it. You'll always wonder whether somebody is looking at you because they feel there's something wrong. So I personally feel that if you should not let any fingers point at you,
Right.
the time you have something like this, then I think you need to rework on yourself. So you be authentic, be honest, be direct. And there are ways of being honest. You don't need to be brutally honest or directly honest, but there are methods which you learn over the period of time with people.
And so, what is that one quality that creates a star? Does it differ, obviously, from people to people, or is there one particular quality?
See, first of all, they're absorbing of details. So when they look at people, they start absorbing. And when you tell us, when a star tells you, sorry, I don't remember, don't ever believe the star, because a star remembers every
Everything.
detail.
I
Look at the
agree.
dialogues that they have to go through. Look at
Yes.
them. Mind is always sharp,
Yeah.
always absorbing. That's how they can come on the screen and perform. So I feel the stars have a great memory. They
Right.
have a great absorbing power. They have great human skills to be able to enact different roles.
Right.
So it's like a bank of powerhouse, film
Right.
stars. I
Right.
mean, I would say actor, not film
Yeah.
stars. Stars are very different from actors.
Right.
So actors are fully accomplished, whether you give them a role of a king or you give them a role of a urchin.
Right.
If an actor can enact it well, that means you can imagine how much the person is absorbed.
Right. Pragya, I just want to go back to you here and ask you, because you've written a lot about bias, the unconscious bias that we all have, gender, religion, race. There's so many biases we carry. During this lockdown period, we've seen some of these biases coming out, and it's not a very pretty sight. It's especially in India. Uh, how do you explain what is happening, especially in India?
I think when we are facing a crisis,
Mm,
we tend to fall back on the stereotypes that we carry,
right.
and it's kind of a survival instinct that kicks in. And
Mm,
there are obviously, as you know, there are external forces that
right.
propel these kind of stereotypes that motivate people to think this is how you belong to this particular tribe and they are not belonging to your tribe. So this sense of tribe and this community that I was talking about has been building up in India, but also elsewhere, these kind of political powers that
Right.
are saying these are the divides that exist between communities. And we are always forming these sense of tribes, and somebody doesn't belong to a tribe, then we do not like them and we have these biases against them. They always exist. So during this pandemic and lockdown, these survival instincts have kicked in. And so we are trying to preserve ourselves as individuals, but also our tribes. So anybody who doesn't belong in it is is an other, is othered basically, and you kind of have these biases against them. So these biases get really heightened during these times of crisis, but also these kind of socioeconomic inequities are being really heightened
Yes.
during
Yes.
this time of crisis. So all the inequalities that people used to say, there are no inequalities, everybody is the same,
Right.
and the pandemic and the virus doesn't discriminate. But it doesn't discriminate, but it actually affects people differently according to how you are placed in the society, what privileges you carry. So I
Right.
think that is really being shown in this time at the moment. On the other hand, I think there is also a sense of empathy that people are creating. So there
Right.
is also something good that's coming out of it, that
Mm.
a sense of compassion, that we are all in this together. So there are two sides to this coin at the moment.
Right. Pragya, I also wanted to ask you about the whole idea of negativity, because you've talked about the fact that negative news negative biases tend to be more pronounced. I mean, it's easier to sort of spread negativity, unfortunately. And we've seen that, of course, with the whole WhatsApp university. Especially now, we've seen that during the elections as well, not just in India, but globally. So, how do you explain the kind of WhatsApp rumors that you hear now? The misinformation, the disinformation. How do you explain that?
We're living in a world of social media. We are getting our news more from social media than news channels and
Right,
newspapers now. We wake up and the first thing often everybody does is go on Twitter and they read the news and they get the news. So like today about Arfan Khan, I got it from Twitter rather than
right,
actually from any of the news media. And what happens in social media is we don't realize that we are living in our echo chambers and
right,
our filter bubbles, that we are creating these communities on social media of the same kind of people. So we have a conformity bias. We engage with people who are like us, who we are friends with people who like us, people who agree with our opinions. So we are only hearing things that and believing things that our community or our tribe or our filter bubble, these bubbles that we are living in on social media. And so when any information gets out of it, we tend to believe it because we do not check the authenticity of that information or reliability of that information. And especially if there's a negative information, we are more likely to believe it than positive information,
that's
because there,
sad, huh?
yeah, it is, and it is the way our brains work, because we are constantly fighting to survive. I think there's this instinct within us.
Right.
And so we believe information that we can fight or struggle against, or things that might affect us negatively more than things that might affect us positively. And it is a time when a lot of misinformation is going out, but there's nobody stopping, not many people are stopping and saying, I'm going to check the validity of this information before because we are responding really quickly. We have this instinct now in social media terms that we respond really quickly to it. And I think we're talking about our tribes and communities and these divides. Social media also does that, because we don't, if somebody doesn't agree with our opinions, we are so quick to denounce them
Yeah.
and to
And in
dismiss.
the harshest terms.
Absolutely. So you block them immediately. And so that kind of links back to real life as well, because we are not open to disagreements, we are not open to debate, we are not open to discussion anymore. And so there's a lot of things going on. And I think on WhatsApp, or this is the same. We trust these communities that we have built. We trust the information that's out there. This sense of fear and panic that's evoked in us from this misinformation, we are more likely to react to that than positive information, I think.
Chaya, may I bring you in here and talk about grooming and etiquette in the time of social media? It's especially hard, isn't it? because you can just sort of let fly on social media, and it really comes back to bite you.
I think, like me, I've taken my life normal because this is going to be a way of life for till we don't get the vaccine. I mean, whenever
Right.
it happens,
Right.
okay. So that should not stop us from our regular life, what we are personally doing. Other than that, like I'm keeping myself fit. I'm keeping myself whatever I can to keep my skin well, my hair good, because I don't want to let go.
Yeah.
Because why should you? If this is going to be here for some time, might as
Yeah.
well get adjusted and start doing whatever you have to.
Right.
And of course, but this has also given me an opportunity to learn a lot. I'm learning how to play chess, which I'd never done before.
Hmm.
I'm voraciously going on social information, Google information. I'm reading a lot. I'm finding out a lot more, which I didn't have the time to. And it could be skin, beauty, personal information, geographical, historical. If every subject that I can, I'm just actually grouping on that. And when it comes to etiquette, what etiquette? I mean, etiquette is not a law, not a rule. It's
Hmm.
just your behavior pattern.
Hmm.
And when when you talk about, yes, we are all going through a moment where we're all feeling very compassionate towards each other. We are
Hmm.
trying to help the humanity. Even we're looking down at little birds and we're enjoying the twitter of the birds and the bark of the dog, because that has become reality to us, because
Hmm.
everything else has come to a standstill.
Right.
So I'm enjoying every bit. Earlier I would get very affected by the dogs barking loud, but now I'm enjoying it because at least there's somebody in life over there. And other than that, yes, I have learned to be a lot more humble, human, giving. We all had it in us, but it's all coming out. And everyone has their own method and skill of doing it.
Right.
I'm actually reaching out to a lot more people, which I had actually kept at bay.
Right.
Because maybe it was an attitude that I have, or maybe it was whatever. But now I'm reaching out to everybody, and that is what I'm loving about myself. So that's one point of etiquette, that reach out to as many people. You don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. We are in
Right.
a dark tunnel. Where is it going to lead us? We don't know. So make the most of it right now.
So basically, you're saying say yes to every experience possible.
Of
Don't say
course. Yes, because anyway, there's nothing else to do than to languish in this freedom that we have of being by ourselves. Till now we never had that, and I call this a freedom of social. I mean, I would call it a social freedom,
actually.
and travel freedom also. So I'm cocooned in my own world. I'm enjoying. I'm connecting with people. I'm reaching out to. It's Kaveri. I'm actually enjoying myself right now.
Right.
Of course, with the economy and all that down, my heart goes out to the daily wages that I cannot keep away. I do drop a tear for them, but it's in a helpless way right now. It's a
Yeah.
nature's call. So it's not that it has been bestowed upon them forcibly by another human being. We're all going through it, and we all have to learn to live with it.
So, what are your tips, Chaya, on the world that we'll come to after the lockdown? A world of social distancing, a world where we'll think twice before hugging or kissing others, before we, throw lavish parties, before we wear the latest brand. There will be a sort of inbuilt frugality, I think, in us. We will learn to be more conscious of how we're spending, I think. So, what is the kind of world you see emerging, and how do you see us responding to it?
There are two kinds now over here, Kaveri. It's a
Yeah.
very good question that you asked me. One is social distancing. I've always believed in germ free by saying namaste, which is our culture,
Yeah.
Asian culture. Okay, and I call it germ free. So that distancing will definitely happen because the fear has mounted so much in all of us that we are
Right.
keeping away.
Right.
But when you come to the mass population in India, they still haven't got the hang of this something like coronavirus
Right.
or what it can do to you. They're still hugging each other, they're still meeting each other, because in the smaller parts of the country nothing has affected them. They're still going to go for a wedding, they're going to have their own band baja barat, whatever they do. But yes, the more the educated lot are going to come down a little more slow on interacting, like a large parties, large weddings. They're definitely going to cut down on that. That would be the more educated lot. And when it comes to luxury buying, I think there are two ways now. Either people will be very conscious of the money that they have,
Yeah,
especially India, because we are a price sensitive market.
right.
But internationally, people are going wild. They would want to open up if we don't live tomorrow with this pandemic,
Ah,
rather make use of it right now and let's enjoy our life. Maybe travel may be curtailed,
yeah,
but buying may go haywire. The luxury brands may boom because 90% of the economy in Europe revolves around luxury brands.
exactly.
The top rich are the luxury brands. So how are they going to survive? So they will try and create a media format to actually uplift the mood of people in
Right.
some way or the other. And people who have it will spend, and people who don't have it will have to curtail or will have to look into some other way of keeping them afloat.
In fact,
So
somebody
there are two
mentioned to
ways.
me that it may well be like the roaring 20s, after
Yes,
the Spanish flu and the First World War.
correct.
Europe just plunged into absolute hedonism, and that was their way of dealing with the crisis. So that could be
Absolutely.
one way that the world is responding.
Yeah. And
But,
also
yeah,
because, sorry, Kaveri, also because the social media is so large.
yeah,
So one starts off with a good upliftment, everyone
right.
follows suit. So it all depends. It also depends on the media, how they're going to play around with it post this.
Pragya, may I bring you in here and talk a little about how you think our mindsets are evolving? How are they changing during this extended period of isolation, of self reflection, in a way, of introspection, which has, in a way, been forced on us?
Yeah, I think I keep saying that it has taken us all a while to get used to the idea. So I think we were going through the first few weeks, we were really resisting this change. And now I think, because I think we needed as a society to reset ourselves.
Hmm.
We were so just on this treadmill, running all the time, myself included. I know that. And now suddenly we've had a moment to step back from that, and kind of all that I'm seeing around, people are admiring nature, as Chhaya said as well, admiring nature so much. They are being more mindful about it. There's more compassion towards other people. So even in our neighborhood, we've got in UK widely, we have these mutual aid groups that have popped up on WhatsApp. So people, if there's an elderly neighbor, people are looking out for them.
Right.
People are buying things for people who don't have the means to go to the shops. They are posting things that can somebody help them. So these mutual aid things. So there's a more kind of a collaborative community spirit that's coming up, which I think we were being so individualistic
Right.
in our approach and attitude before then. Another thing that I think is happening, so although it has taken this crisis to highlight the inequalities, as I said, but there's more discussion happening about it. More discussion about the racial inequalities, the gender inequalities. I wrote an article for Grazia recently about how women are being affected in this time of crisis. Single parents, reproductive health, everything is being deemed non-essential. Women are falling out of the labor force. They will
Yeah.
feel more the sting of gender pay gap. But
They
it
would
could
be the first to suffer, right?
absolutely, and that's we're seeing that. But what's also happening, there could be a tiny silver lining, is that the flexible remote working that organizations were resisting, that might come back into force. People are realizing and acknowledging that it's okay to work from home. It's okay to work around childcare. It's okay to work. So I think there'll be more these kind of women friendly workplace policies might come into place as well.
Right.
And we're talking more about women's reproductive health. We're talking about racial inequalities, more discussion openly, like we saw when Trump called it a Chinese virus, and we saw all the stigmatization that happened against Chinese people or people of Chinese origin. So I think people, and we're talking about people who are on benefits, people who are not privileged, homeless. People are becoming more aware of it. People who weren't discussing it before. I think there's more discussion. So I'm hoping that as we go through this time, we will become. I'm hoping that this is not something momentary. I'm hoping that there's this research to show that once our behaviors become consistent, then they can become more in place, like persistent change in
Right.
attitudes. So I'm hoping that that this is actually going to reset society in some way, reset our mindsets, reset our behaviors in some way as well.
So we'll have more positive biases.
Absolutely. We could have more positive, we could address and acknowledge and reflect on our biases more during this time. I think it's an opportunity, also an opportunity to reflect on our biases and say, do I really need to hold these biases? Do
Yeah.
we actually, are we more similar than different, kind of a thing? And I hope people are reading Sway during this time.
I hope
So,
they do, especially our television anchors, Pragya. The amount of hate that is, being spewed on TV screens these days in the name of information is quite worrying.
Yeah.
Chaya, you want to talk a little about the whole idea of what the new luxury could be? We talk about brands, we talk about luxury cars, we talk about shoes, couture. Could the new luxury really be time spent with the family, a family meal, just playing simple board games? Could there be a redefinition of what luxury is?
Yes, of course. I feel families are going to come together a lot more.
Hmm.
There are going to be a lot more very, very cozy dinners, intimate dinners,
Hmm.
intimate family reunions,
Hmm.
and even friends. Why only family?
Right,
People who you connect with, you'll be meeting them a lot more because you want to keep it small. You want to keep it more cozier.
right.
And yes, that's going to happen. So a lot more board games, virtual games, things which we used to enjoy way back,
Yes.
the virtual. So, but
Yeah.
it'll be in a little more modernized, more technology oriented. I will not be surprised even if there are virtual weddings now.
Oh, yeah.
Where
Already
you, yeah,
I've seen it.
where you don't need to invite the world, but you can see the rites and the fairas and everything, and maybe the host will ask you to dress up and do it. So you with digital and technology, I can I can actually expect a big flow of influx of things happening. As far as you can distance yourself to with each other. And when it comes to luxury brands, I think they're going to be very, very wise,
Yeah.
price conscious. They're not going to die away, but they're going to be price conscious, and they're going to be a lot of sustainable uh, fabrics which don't
Yeah.
need too much of fussing around, like laundering and
It's because
embellished
we've learned to wash our
embellishment.
own clothes now.
Yeah. So,
possible.
and also embellishments will come down a lot more user-friendly clothes. Style is going to go big, of course, because when the more simple the outfit is going to be a lot more stylish, the
Right.
cuts and
Yeah.
the fabric and everything. But when it comes to handling it, it's going to be a lot more nicer because I'm just working, I'm consulting with Monica and Karishma Couture. They are going all out to make beautiful, sustainable, stylish clothes because they know people are not. It's because like I said, India is a price-sensitive place, and we are not going to be able to travel so much to buy all the luxury brands. So
Right.
we'll have to work through India, use our weavers, and the biggest boom is our country has the best craftsmen,
Absolutely.
and they are going to be in a big boom. They are going to be, I know we are going to enjoy our Indian culture a lot more, and which I'm really looking forward to.
So, what you're going to do about the weddings that you used to plan, Chaya? How are you going to plan?
I I never plan weddings, honestly. I've always launched luxury brands.
Right.
But weddings, I think they have to keep it small. With
Yeah.
the what earlier we used to only have it in the house, the whole rasam and the mendi and everything is going to go back to that at least for a
Yeah.
few years.
Yeah.
Till people, and also let's not forget, people have short memories.
Yeah.
Another 4 years, everything will be forgotten and we'll be back with a bang. I'm, I, this is what I think.
Yeah.
But I don't even want to be proved wrong or right because everything has its own way of enjoying yourself. But
Right.
I've always personally believed in having small weddings, enjoying the rasams with the family, the haldi, the song, because nobody really has a good voice, and
Yeah.
the dances which we used to do. But for another 2 3 years, we'll be definitely enjoying all that right now, and
Right.
I'm damn sure about it.
Pragya, what do you think life is going to look like?
Gosh, I keep thinking about it every day, you know. What you're saying about frugality is really true, because even I feel like I'm falling back on my mom's recipes, you know, things that I never used to consider. Here in the UK, we had a shortage of flour. We couldn't find it anywhere, you know. So, and also we couldn't go out shopping more than once a week. So we are trying to make do of what we have. So I think people are living more frugally, planning their meals more properly,
Right.
sustainably, more consciously. And I think that hopefully will continue, that we step out of this world of overindulgence.
Hmm.
And I think truly, I think family is becoming more important to people. And we are now, just by Zoom, we did our twins' fourth birthday, and we had the whole family from all over the world on Zoom, you
Uh,
know, so
There.
everybody was together on it. And before, maybe we wouldn't have made this much of an effort to have everybody together across time differences at the same time. But I think it's becoming more important. We are falling back on our ancient kind of our legacies, our history. I'm becoming more aware of my family's recipes and family traditions, and I'd want to pass that on to my children. So I think there's a sense of time passing by really quickly, even though time is not passing that quickly. So I think that's a very strange mindset we are in at the moment.
if you had to write sway now, Pragya, how would, what would you say to people?
Um, so I don't think there would be much change, but there would be probably more discussion about how in the times of crisis or in the times of pandemic, what happens to our biases, how they heighten. So, you know, the chapter on evolution I talk about,
Right.
evolutionary instincts and our gut instincts. And I think maybe there could be more discussion about how we fall back on our gut instincts when we are under threat and under fear. You know, that's what's happening at the moment.
Yeah.
Our brains trying to, and there would be probably more. So I wrote this. So this is the book. So I wrote this last year.
Yeah.
I finished it last year, year and a half. And but there's everything that every day there's been more examples that are coming out. So I wrote an article recently about racial bias and about knots and crosses being on television. Every day there's some more discussion on television that about how racial bias doesn't exist, or how people overreact, microaggressions, about gender. There's always, and I think today now we are also realizing this kind of huge inequality in domestic labor. So
Yes.
even though everybody is working from home, it's the women who carry most of the emotional load and the
Right.
physical and mental load
Right.
of running a family. So I think that discussion could become even more pertinent in this time. But
Yeah.
otherwise, I don't think there would be much change in this. I'm writing another book about for Canongate, which is due in August, which is all about women's reproductive health and our choices. And in that, I'm having a bigger discussion about how crisis really has affected women's reproductive health, because it's the times of crisis and we see that it's considered non-essential and that women come under threat as well. So
Chaya, I'm going to ask you to have the last word. How have women emerged from this crisis? They've really been the backbones of the home and work from home, and you see them, you see them walking miles and miles and miles to reach home as migrant laborers. I mean, they've really suffered during this crisis, but they've also at times emerged stronger. What is your take on this?
I've seen women really empower themselves now. The way they've taken up the entire workload at home and even keeping the mental stability in the house with the children and with the husband.
Right.
Okay. And I see my mother, 80-year-old mother. I I lost my father on February 19th this year,
Yeah.
and she is all by herself in her apartment with two of her staff.
Right.
You know what I was shocked. She put on music, Beyonce music, and she is exercising.
I know. I
And
saw that
she's
video.
absolutely cool. And she's absolutely cool about it. I never seen all these years, I've never seen her behave like this till now. And I've been talking to all my girlfriends, women friends. They're so happy being with their spouses. One, you're going to laugh at this one, that the husbands can't go and betray them behind the back because they're all at home. So there are nothing to worry about. Okay. Other than that, that's jokes apart. I think they are like the anchor in the house right now.
Right.
Like I'm handling my son, I'm handling my husband, though they both are very well balanced. Yet when they have anything to discuss, we are always there together
Right.
because we all have now we have enough time.
Yeah.
So we discuss a lot of things. My daughter-in-law wanted to have a baby. I said, now wait. You cannot do it for another 1 year because you don't know what kind of infection you might get in. Right now, let's wait and watch till the vaccine comes out. So with a lot of things, women are emerge stronger. And they are, honestly, I feel, I'm not being biased about women, but they're far
A
more
good
stronger
bias
than
to
men.
have.
You know, a lot more stronger than the men. And if you are happy, you keep the entire family smiling. The
Absolutely.
time you feel down,
Yeah.
the entire family goes down with you, and it's a fact.
Right.
So
We have a question,
that's
Chaya from Pinar Kaya. She says everyone's looking great. I want to ask my dear Chaya, how is she holding up? What is her advice for us during the curfew?
enjoy. I mean, I saw her Bollywood dancing. I said, keep up to that, Pinar. Enjoy, because she's a Turkish lady and she's in India and she's enjoying her dancing. So of course, other than that, I think she's makes excellent Turkish meals, so she
Okay.
can start actually catering to the
Yeah.
people, in her building.
Right.
And she's fantastic and she's very, very quick. And other than that, bring out your other skills which you've always thought of as a child. Let me do this physically, and you never got to do it
Right.
now. And she's another person, she knows a lot more about Mumbai than I know. She
Okay.
can actually take those clips and start clipping it on her Instagram or on social media, whatever she is on, because to inform the world over that what Mumbai is all about,
Hmm.
and being a Turkish. And when it comes to skin, we're not wearing our makeup every day. We are not stressing. We are not really going out and partying. No late nights. We're
Right.
watching movies. We're relaxed. So
Yeah.
ultimately, our skin is glowing. So I
It's
don't think I need to give an advice on that. And we're eating good, fresh, healthy food every day. And
yeah.
not eating too much because not so much is available. So we've cut down on our cream, sugar, flour, everything, and eating home cooked food. That's
And also
the
because
trick.
you have to wash the dishes at the end, so you may as well not eat too much.
Yes, yes, yes. I agree. I agree.
Reshma Merchant wants to ask you, Chaya, what's the perfect quarantine look? Oh,
I think
nice.
uh, perfect quarantine look is to look hot for your husband because he is with you 24/7. So you met her, and if you've been married for long, this is the right time to seduce him back into your life.
I'm absolutely failing at that.
So
Yeah,
wear
how
the
are you
right
doing on that
lingerie.
front?
Hello, wear
Not
the
at
right
all.
lingerie.
Okay, so she sent you a big smiley and a big thank you. So I think that's a good note on which to end. Thank you so much, both ladies, for being with us today. And I wish you all the best. And I really hope we come out of the lockdown with the same smiles and maybe some of the lingerie that you mentioned, Shah.
Better get it out of your closet. Just to make a light out the moment. Of course, Kaveri, it was so wonderful talking to you, and especially I heard about you from Radhika Raje
Oh, yes.
Gaikwad.
Right.
And she was so fondly spoke about you. I
Yeah.
said, I must communicate that to you in front
Thank
of
you so much.
when people are listening to you. And
Thank you.
Kaveri, it was wonderful talking to you, honestly. And Dr. Pragya, I love to read your book, maybe online, I'll get it and love to read it because you spoke so well. You spoke from your heart, and
Yeah.
that's what it's all about.
Thank you so
Lovely
much, Chhaya.
putting us together, Kaveri.
Thank you,
Love
Pragya. Thank you, Chaya. And see
Yes.
you again soon
See you.
sometime. Bye
Yes.
bye.
Okay.
you.
Bye.